Okay. My name is Standi4Life. I must say, first of all, that I'm overwhelmed with this meeting, and I feel that you guys have done a lot for the freedom that we are having today. You know, and I think we must maybe clap hands for them again. And I believe the biggest thank you that you would expect from us is if we take off from where you left off. Yeah. Even though you are still going on, is if we continue to leave a legacy for our children. Well, I'm in the engineering background, okay, other than the music and other things. And one of the things that you see with the women, we don't have a lot of women there. One of the things Mama Hlope mentioned is that they studied. They went to school. Now, most of us, we expect to just get things laid for us. We don't want to go to school. Someone once said, if you want to hide something from a black man, put it inside a book. Now, those who have studied, we don't share these skills with the others. I mean, for example, if you have gone and done engineering, I mean, you as a lady, take off some of your time and go to those rural areas and educate some kids. But most of us, we expect to be given money to go and do that. With my wife, we have gone to the rural areas where you say, I don't expect someone to give me money, but I will use what I have to get what I don't have. They didn't have money, but they had talent. And they used that talent to get what they didn't have. And I would just like to encourage each and everyone here that, you know, if you can learn and strive for perfection and strive for doing good, money will just follow. And it doesn't take a lot of money to please other people. I mean, like I say, for example, our kids here in Joburg, in town, we pay 500, 1,000 rand a month to take them to school. But you go to the rural areas, the kids are paying 50 rand a month. So if you can just decide that for just this one time, I'm going to donate 1,000 rand, that will support 10 kids and it will pay for their school fees for the whole year. Just one person. So there are many other ways in which we can help, and one of them is to plow back to our community, those that are privileged, and to continue to study. We mustn't stop with what we have and say we're going to get some funding from so and so. Most of us, we want to continue and fund other people, but where do we get that money? Use what you have to get what you don't have. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Standi, and the few things that I've picked up from them is that whatever they did it out of nothing. And it was the initiative that they had. Nobody asked them to do it. And as women, sometimes we wait for someone to do something for us. I know sometimes that we can blame the background and say it's how I grew up, because women sometimes as girls, you are brought up being this little princess who's waiting for Prince Charming to do things for you. And what I've learned through life is that it doesn't work like that. We need to take the initiative. Nobody's going to ask you to do things, but you have to stand up and go after what you believe that you want. And again, when we as women, we're supposed to be taking our stages. We're trying, what we do, we have a pull head down syndrome. That is what I call it. If you see another woman, with them, they were supporting each other. If they saw a person who had good leadership skills in whatever area they were good at, that is where they would take that person. As a leader, that is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to have a backup of people that are good and better skilled than you. Not look at them and see them as a threat, but you see them and see where they can take you to make sure that you achieve what you need to achieve. And again, I believe that they say that it takes one woman to bring a child into this world, but it takes the whole village to bring that child up. Charity starts at home. When I grew up, it was even though I had neighbors, I looked at them as my mother and my fathers. It was not only the mother that was in the house, I had to answer to them about what I'm doing. And today, that is not how we are. Charity does not begin at home with us, because even our siblings, today, you don't know what they are doing. You don't know where they are. If you're not impacting in your own home, how can you be able to impact the community and the country and the world?
Thank you. My name is Sina Gwebu. Today I am representing Disabled People South Africa. I was listening to the lady who was speaking about volunteerism. I agree with her. And also, when I grew up, there was a thing called Litsima, whereby, you know, the community will go and help the people next door, or even, you know, the community around help each other. But then now I would say, you know, today is another environment where you see, you know, you're looking at yourself only. You don't care to help your neighbor or even one disabled woman, which you can just leave to work, or even help, you know, to raise the children. But then I would say, you know, I'm looking at, you know, looking at program like this going on, so that, you know, we must start, you know, helping each other or supporting each other. Because I can see now that, you know, when you want to help back into your community, you have to have love to your community, to start, you know, seeing people on the ground, what are the needs at the ground there. Because if you are up there, not even going to your people down there, you are missing a lot. But then I would like to say, because I was listening to one lady said that about the movement. Last year there was a movement launched in Bloemfontein, whereby different women gathered in Bloemfontein. From Bloemfontein they went to Pretoria. And the movement is still going on, whereby provinces are being launched, as I'm part of that movement, whereby Weekend Limpopo launched. So we appeal to all the women, all races, to come and join that movement, because we do have Jewish women on the movement. We do have all the women who supporting the movement. Thank you very much. But then I'll ask the women to support disabled women as well, because we are an aggressive movement now. We need support. We are not going to say we are going to wait for a plea to be brought to these women, but we are just going to go on and on and on fighting for that plea too.
Thank you, Simon. Thanks, Simon. We'll go to Shali.
I feel very honored to have just sat this morning, first of all looking at the exhibition and really reminiscing about the work that has been done, and listening to the stalwarts who are addressing us here today, to remind us, you know, I'm not so young anymore, but to remind us about the responsibility that we all have as women. We all have some kind of gift or potential ability, which I believe is important to be shared. When you talk about sharing, this is one way of doing it. But I also think that we all come from somewhere. We are based somewhere, you know, in your locality, the township. We belong to churches, as Brigadier is saying. We belong to Stockfells. We belong in various little groups. And I believe that if we go out of this dialogue today and make a difference in you know, in the groupings that we work with or we belong to in our own communities, those small groups, because it's true that we still don't have, you know, a good life for all. To look at what it is that we can do in those small groups in our own areas to impact positively. We are in families, we've got daughters that we are raising. How are we raising them? We've got sons, let me emphasize that, whom we are raising, whose behavior is impacting, either positively or very negatively, you know, towards women's ability to become who they are, and for women to make a contribution in society. And I'm just saying that I plead with all of us that we go back and be the best we can be where we are, because that is where the people are. Thank you.
Thank you, Shali. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Delphine Saramaga. I'm the director of an organization called Power. And I just want to say that I envy all of you, and I'm jealous of what you've all done. Because today, as an organization, we feel that we're being activists, but we have an issue of activism becoming a bad word, or feminism becoming a bad word. And to a point where when I ask what your occupation is on a form, you write activist, because we'd like to promote that. I think activism is the spirit of what will bring it all together. I agree, I don't think it's about creating just one movement. I think women are not homogeneous, therefore there are many different things you can do as individuals. But I just wanted to say I'm so proud to be in your presence. And I really envy what you did, because I'm not sure that we can do what you've done. Only to say that we'll try and carry on the work that you have done. We'll push ourselves and we'll remain activists, because I believe you were true activists in what you did, and you embody the word of activism, and we will try and follow through with that.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That was the last input. We just have a surprise guest who needs to come and greet the women and honor the women. When he comes, we'd like all of us to be seated. And please, those who have flash cameras, please, no flash cameras.
Nelson Mandela, Nelson Mandela, Nelson Mandela, Nelson Mandela,
How are you? What are the men doing there? Well, I was forced to sit here. Yes. Oh, I recognize many faces here. Many faces. Some of them were youngsters, you know, when I was active. But now, they are planners of the future of the country. You see how things change. And I never thought that I would be able to sit here and see people who were youngsters at the time when I was president. They were playing around with short dresses and so on. But now they're big ladies, and I'm very happy to be here. No, I was just told that I would just come and stand and say hello and then go out. But I have broken that instruction. Isn't that so?
No, you haven't. No, you haven't.
Okay, then. Am I now free to leave?
Thank you very much.
Good, thank you very much. Yes, thank you.
It's fine, buddy, but we're going to leave.
Okay. Okay, no, the young ladies don't want me to stay here for a long time. They say I'm not fit to be here. Yes? And you did very well.
And so did you.
I'm happy to hear that. And I hope you will know that these ladies they played a very important role in the struggle. Some of us can't measure up to the sacrifices they made. Thank you very much. Oh, good. I'm happy to see you. Thank you. Yes? Are you still reporting? Thank you.
Abina, remember the parties we used to have 26 birthdays in your flat
It's a day to be overwhelmed. I'm already overwhelmed. You don't know how overwhelmed I am here. But I'm going to overwhelm myself just a little bit more by one asking Mama Grassa if she would just say one or two words. You know, because I know if I'm talking a women's movement, I'm talking her, if I'm talking about children, if I'm talking about Africa, if I'm talking about all those things, I know that I'm talking about Mama Michelle. So one or two words, Mama, please. I think really I would like to thank the Center of Memory, particularly Moto, for putting together this gathering for us. I'm very humbled by the way I listened and some of the things I learned, others I was reminded, and it took me to be very reflective this morning. And I don't think really I have much to say. Where are you, Moto? Ah, okay. What I'd like to suggest is that this kind of dialogue should continue. Just the panelists, they didn't have time to tell us what they would have liked to tell us. Maybe we should have just more time without those limits that we start at 10, we have to finish at 12. Because there's one thing which our generation, the old guard to which I belong, we have been failing. It's just to tell the story. Tell the story. You can write a book, but there's nothing which replaces a direct contact and conversation. I must confess that if there is one thing the Nelson Mandela Foundation has failed, is to have allowed people like Walter going without having an opportunity to talk to young people. Just young people. Just to talk to child. To have people like the governor, they are born. And you know, what is part of the history of this country, which is gone with them, will never be able to recapture. Never. It's gone. And because we still have these leaders of ours, I think we should continue to have this kind of conversation. Maybe reshaping it in a different way. Because they also, and me, because I belong to their generation, we need to listen to young people. We need to connect the 2 or 3 generations which are in between and to say, yes, this is how it was. But how is it today? What are the challenges young people are facing? Even with the deep will of recapturing the chain, because I would like us to think of a chain of life, a chain of values which comes from those days until today. How does it work? How does it renew itself, reinvigorate itself, and to be able to face the challenges of today? Because it is true. We sometimes are puzzled on how we have to talk to our children. My family, the small family which I came from,
before I joined the big family of the Mandelas. But in both my two families, I have 3-4 generations. It's easier to talk to Maki or to talk to Olivia, the older ones. We seem to be, but when it comes to the younger ones, it's extremely difficult. I'm not so sure whether I'm being the sort of role model which I should be to them. So we do also have problems. We need to listen to you. We need to try to understand. And we need to connect the chain of life so that we will reinvigorate it and we will make it practical and useful for whatever it is are your needs and your challenges of today. Having said this, I think we need to one of the things which puzzles me is how is it that we came to a situation where we face the levels of violence, but not only violence. I think for me the issue is the sophistication of violence. It's the way that violence is being done against women, against children, against the elderly. If it's a violence because I need a cell phone, okay. I mean, you can do this and take cell phone and go, but you don't need to rape and re-rape and then to humiliate completely another human being. At the end, just to take a cell phone and we go out. There's something which is much, much, much wrong than just the need of a cell phone. It is done to elderly, it is done to women, to young women, it is done to children. And we are the women. We are the women, those pillars, the pillars of our families. I'm not taking away the responsibility of men, but I'm saying we, the mothers, the grandmothers or the great-grandmothers, but the mothers, and there's something which we need to sit down and talk about. What is happening? How is it from my womb I end up with this kind of a child who will look to his sister, to his niece, and do the kind of things which are happening? So I'm saying we do have issues with the political continuity, but I think we have fundamental, very fundamental things which have to do with that small cell of family where we come from. Maybe, Bridale, I come to you. With all the main heads you have, help us also to talk about family. The thing which has given us the foundations of the values we're talking about, it started in our family, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It is exactly. It's my mother, it's my father, it's my uncle. It started in the family. I don't think we will overcome the issue of violence against women, violence against children, without going back and say, what is the family? What is the structure of the South African family? What has gone wrong with that structure of the family? How it has to become, again, the nurturing space, the loving and the caring space where every single human being in this country has reference to before you relate it to the bigger picture of the nation. Mm. And I think we have a fundamental problem there. We can talk of we can perfection if we want the judiciary system. It has to punish, and punish very severely. It has to keep those monsters out of society. It is true. But many other monsters will spring tomorrow if we don't go back to the source of the problem. I'm saying we need to continue this kind of debate. But we need to connect it when we say values. There are big values of a political commitment, of a social connectivity, which you have to connect it to your community, etc., etc. But they have to be connected and fundamentally linked to that small thing. When at the end of the day, all of us, we go home and we say, this is my family. You know what? Many of our young people, I'm saying in their 40s, in their 30s, in their 20s, they never had that family I'm talking about. It was broken. It was broken by somebody. And because some of them, they're becoming parents without having it themselves, and they can't transmit to others because, yeah. And have you realized how many families are being broken? They're married today, but how many they are broken? If you go to our schools and you ask how many, in certain areas, how many of the kids who are in those schools, they are coming from broken families, you'll be very surprised. And then you realize teachers can't cope. Absolutely, they can't cope. The two fundamental social institutions which give sense of belonging and sense of structure and sense of it's family and school. School cannot do it alone without family, and family cannot do it alone without the school. And that's what I'm saying, that women of and this is absolutely correct, not only for South Africa. It works for any African country today. The challenges we have is exactly that. How do we rebuild this? That anchor, which is our family, and the values. And then you link them with the church, you link them with the values of the constitutions, of human rights, of everything, but sitting there in the anchor of the family. I just wanted to say it has been such a privilege for me really to sit and listen. I know all of you and I have heard you, but it was a humbling experience to sit and listen to you today. And that's what I think we need to continue to do. And eventually having here two of the stalwarts and two of young people and shaking the two, you know, and so that they meet somewhere. But thank you for coming. And Moto, thank you, love. Well done.
Thank you very much, Mama, for those very inspiring words. I know that we're short of time, but I'm going to give the panelists a last opportunity if they've got one or two things to say to us as parting words. Then I'll ask Moto to close. But if the panelists, I'll take it back to the panelists. If they have anything.
Say we hope to hear from you very soon. No, quite seriously, with all seriousness, on the way forward, so that this occasion doesn't end here. Maybe you might have some ideas on how we proceed with some of these ideas of continuing the sharing and the dialogue and the learning.
You know.
I just want to congratulate my colleagues. A job well done over the years. But we have new challenges in this country, very serious challenges. And I hope we can come to grips with that sooner than later.
I want to just concur with what Madam Gracia has said here. Gracia has said here, sorry. I wanted to also, for what it's worth, pass on to the young people here, the young women, that if they are in a relationship where they are going perhaps take a partner or get married, whatever they want to do, and then later on they would want to raise a family. I believe in the principle, and it's worked for me, the principle of laying a good foundation in the home, a solid one. That is where it all begins. To build a solid foundation, but while you are building that solid foundation for your children, you have also to have the right values in that home. But besides that, you have to not say, don't do what I do, but do what I say. Which means that as you raise your children, you pass on good examples to them with your own lifestyle. A clean lifestyle, a lifestyle which is principled, because it doesn't mean that if you don't have your own examples, the right ones, if you have wrong examples, you pass on that wrong examples, and hence we have what we have today. Broken up families, like Grasa said here, children, the young ones that are married have come from those broken homes. And if we talk to one another, and if we pray together, and if we do things together, in that spirit of having built that good foundation, which will not crack, your children will write to you wherever they are in the world, in boarding school, in universities, they will say to you, I didn't understand what you tried to say so long ago, but now that I'm amongst other children and I see how other people behave, you were not wrong. And I'm grateful for you for having brought me up this way. I'm actually saying that what you have laid there initially, they will build on. Because you are not always there to carry a candle for them. But they will have that inside of them, and they will build on what you have laid, this good foundation for them. So I'm saying to the young people there, this is my word of advice for what it is worth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks to all the participants and my esteemed, very powerful panel. This has been the one platform that has introduced the old words that most of us have forgotten: family values, activism, voluntarism, conversations, sharing, all those things that we've forgotten. And maybe just in each of those words, lies values that we might want to interrogate and bring out and say, what does it mean for our work? And maybe finally to say, there's a flow of information that probably doesn't happen at the rate at which it ought to happen. Flow of information from professional organizations to communities to government. So those who sit in professional organizations will rattle the statistics. I'll tell you how many children were raped, how many children are doing this. But that information is academic if it does not move to the ground to mobilize communities, because we will not find common threads if we don't understand what the threats are in our communities. And those threats often lie and sit with professional organizations like the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund will tell what's going on in your villages. But that information of what's going on in the village is really of no use to anyone if the women of Hamatabata don't know and the men and the churches don't get the feedback from those organizations that are operational in those communities. So I suppose we need to be crossing lines and ensuring that the bongi who goes to the Children's Fund is the same one who goes to the church. So I can say to the church, this is what is going on in your communities. I know because I've been there. And what are you doing about it? So I think we need to be having many conversations. And Sister Dopey, thanks for that platform that you introduced of South African Women in Dialogue, because there's a lot of things that we need to be dialoguing about. And I thank you very much for respecting me as your chair today. And I'm looking out for Mutu. Oh, Mutu is already here to just give us a word of thanks from the foundation. Thank you, Mutu.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to take long, but just really to express a profound sense of humility to have sat in the same room with these ladies. And I think there's no debate, we have to continue this. And how the witch and house will be knocking at your doors again, and hopefully we'd like to thank your time coming out here to share with us. And so we've heeded the call, we've heard you. I'd also like to thank the participants who came out, some at very short notice. There were a lot of people here that I would have loved to hear from the Men's Forum. They were very silent today. Hopefully this is just the initiation of this conversation, and I think the challenges I had is to revisit that art of conversation so that we can link across the different lines and the networks so that this conversation can continue. So thank you very much for all of you. And I think finally, the two boats that you see here, in a little way, we're hoping that as we revisit that art of conversation, is to also create a safe space for that conversation to happen, so that people can truly express what it is that they need to express. So in a very, do you think we can take all of them? Okay. A little token of, from the Nelson Mandela Foundation, from us. Thank you. I don't know if I can do this at the same time. Thank you very much. I don't even know if I would have the level of energy that you have. Thank you so much. Sisibongi, you will come last. Thank you so much for your stories. I really do wish you would have another opportunity to hear some more. You were very early this morning, to my total embarrassment. You're one of the first people here. Thank you very much. I think I'm missing somebody here because I'm trying to get this. Yes, and she comes back. I hope you don't miss your flight. But I hope you will also honor us with your first and second. Thank you so much. Okay. I will do this when she comes back. Mama Grassa, there's lots of work to do. Lots of work to do. So as we said, this is just the beginning. Thank you. I was just saying in your absence that we're totally overwhelmed by your presence, and I hope that when you call again, you'll honor us. Thank you very much. And a little token of from us. Okay. Sisibongile, you called, we responded, so over to you. When do we meet again?
Okay, that was, yeah. No, I'm home. Thank you very much, Mutsu. I think we're done. I think Mutsu will be telling us when we're going to meet again. We move from here to lunch.
I think I'll just hand over. Maybe I just forgot one very important thing. When I acknowledged the man in the room, I forgot to mention the man that pays my salary. Yes. Mr. Ahmed Dango. Thank you very much for your support. We hope that you'll be there for us along this journey. I'll hand over to Naomi to just tell us what it is that we need to do after this.
I'd like to invite you downstairs to have some food with us, to enjoy some more food and to enjoy networking and to just finalize the conversation, and then we'll take it from here. I'll be in touch.